My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of The End of the Fucking World Season 2. And this will be spoiler free because I want to recommend this to people because it's not a popular show and it's a real shame. So, look, I watched the first season years ago and I loved it. I thought it was terrific, but I had zero interest in a season 2 because I was just like, the first season was so perfect. Let's just leave it alone. But I rewatched season 1 and I'm like, okay, well, now I should watch season 2. And I was really worried about it. But I think this is every bit as good, if not slightly better than the first season, because I really loved this. I really did. I've looked online and it seems to be pretty divisive, but I don't get it. I think this is a perfect progression of all the ideas in the first season, of the characters, of the story. It just worked for me in every sense. And some of my favorite writing advice ever came from Neil Druckmann, the guy who made Last of Us and Last of Us 2, when he said, simple story, complex characters. And that's exactly what's present here. There's not a lot of momentum to the story here, but character wise, it's just so fully realized and it really works for me. Like the character of James in the first season learned how to feel, and with him gaining a sense of feeling, it now opens him up to just how terrible that can be in certain moments. At the start of this season, he's just at rock bottom. And then you've got Alyssa, who's on the opposite side of the spectrum, where she's just keeping everything bottled up. On the surface, she's getting married, she's got a job, she seems to be doing good, but inside she's screaming for help. And I just love the fact that these two characters have become inverses of each other. In the first season, James just kept to himself. He kept everything bottled up, while Alyssa was the more outspoken, lively one of the two. And in here, it's the other way around. I think that's very a great progression of the characters, and I thought their relationship was once again fantastic. The magic between them is gone here. Their relationship is a lot rougher, a lot more difficult, but it also has more depth to it. It feels like it has gone through lots of heavy stuff. While the first season is how love can make you joyful and make you enjoy life more, this shows how love can be difficult and how even when it's difficult, it's still worth fighting for. And I love that. And 99% of the time, I hate narration, but it's so perfectly written here. Well, you get a sense of what the characters are thinking, but then you see what they're doing and saying and how the two contradict, and it really works. There's a lot of depth to these characters. And it just feels very honest. Like it captures that feeling when you love someone and when there's just clear tension between the two of you so perfectly. And I just felt that it approached it in a very authentic manner. And then you've also got the addition of this new character, Bonnie, who is tied to their past and is trying to kill them. So you've got a similar plot to the first season, but it still feels like a natural progression. And I loved the way they handled Bonnie as a character. She's never viewed as just plain evil. There is depth to her character, and she's kind of the inverse of James and Alyssa because Bonnie loved the wrong person, and now she's without love in her life, and she's just completely lost without it. And it shows how holding on to love, no matter how difficult or messy it is essential, and how the lack of love can set someone on a destructive path. It's also about your past and coming to terms with it, the good and the bad, and looking at it as honestly as you can. And it also just highlights the difficulties and just how painful life can be. There's one moment in particular at the end of episode 7 which I just found to be heartbreaking. There was one line of, "I'm so tired." Just one line, and it packs a huge emotional punch. Now, I've seen some complaints that this season just felt like it was lacking in the story, that it just felt like an excuse to bring these characters back together again. And in some ways, exactly, yes, that is the point. James wanted an excuse to be with Alyssa again, and Alyssa wanted an excuse to be with James again. So that really didn't bother me, and I think it's very well directed by Jonathan Entwistle. This show doesn't get the credit it deserves for just how well shot it is, especially episode 7, but it also just walks this fine line between being hilarious and heartbreaking and uncomfortable and sweet, and sometimes all at once. And it does so perfectly, and I just think that the narration, like I said, is great. I love the style of this show. I think the writing is very strong. There's another line actually that I've never been so happy and so sad to see someone. And I love that line. I also thought the soundtrack was really great this season, especially the use of Lisa Hannigan Fall and the song I'm a Dreamer. I thought the soundtrack elevated this season. And the cast all does a terrific job again. You've got Alex Lawther, who's just excellent as James. He feels like a totally different character this season, but you understand why and you buy into it. And no doubt did I feel like this was someone else. I just felt like it was a more mature, a more progressed version of the character in the first season. He wears his heart on his sleeve and he's a lot more emotional here, but it always feels genuine. So I thought he really nailed it this season. And then you've got Jessica Barden as Alyssa, who I think is brilliant once again. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if I found some negative reviews saying that she's too unlikable this season. And she is in certain moments, but it's also the way that she's written. I think that they go about this character in a very specific manner that does have depth. And yes, it isn't as joyful and as happy to watch as the first season, but no, is it supposed to be. And I thought they dealt with her very well, and she just keeps all her emotions under the surface, bottled up, and she just displays her complex feelings so perfectly. I also think she's really funny when she needs to be. And when she needs to hit those emotional beats, I think she does so flawlessly. I said it in my review for the last season, and I'll say it again here, but the fact that Alex Lawther and Jessica Barden didn't get nominated for any Emmys is just a complete joke. Two of the best performances I've seen on TV. And their chemistry is so flawless. It feels real, it feels honest, no matter how good it is between them and no matter how bad. And the last scene of the season, without giving anything away, all I'll say is that it warmed my heart quite a bit. You also got the addition of Naomi Ackie this season, and I think she's really fantastic. You can just tell how much this character is struggling, how much pain she's in. And I think she highlights the complexities of this character so well. You've got Christine Bottomley as Alyssa's mom, who does a good job. You've got Alexandria Wiley as Lee, who I believe was Gwen's sister. Definitely Alyssa's boss, but maybe Gwen's sister too. Shit, I can't remember. I thought she was a great addition. I actually could have used a little bit more of her. She's the walk of this family. You got Steve Owen as Phil, James' dad, and I think he does a good job in the minimum time we see him. You've got Patterson Joseph, who plays this one dude at a pharmacy, and it's just like 2 scenes, but he leaves an impression. You've got Divine Lardwa, who is fantastic. He plays this cop in the 7th episode, and I thought his comedic delivery was pitch perfect. He was hilarious, just has a huge impact in very minimal screen time. You've got Tim Key as Gus, this Motel Ono, and I think he does a good job. You've got Josh Dillon as Todd, Alyssa's fiance, and I love how they don't portray him as this obvious douchebag. He seems to be a really sweet guy by all means necessary, but it's just he's not a good fit for Alyssa, and you gain that sense, and I think he gives him an appropriate amount of humanity. So look, I really love this season. I do have a couple negatives that don't really affect my rating too much, but just a few things. There is one death scene around the halfway mark of this season, and I really don't think that was needed. I think it just felt like a desperate attempt to spice things up. Wow, I would have been just fine if it wasn't there. I don't like fake out death, and there was a fake out death scene in one episode, and I didn't like that. And the last episode, I really loved the ending of. I just maybe could have used a little bit more momentum, maybe a little bit more James and Alyssa. But yeah, I really, really loved this season. I was skeptical to watch it, and I think I like it a little bit more than season 1. It kind of reminds me when Last of Us 1 finished, and I'm like, that's it, wrap it up, we don't need another game. And then I played Last of Us 2, and I'm like, this is the greatest story ever. Yes, I'm so thankful this exists. So, I'm thankful this exists. I would be okay if we got a season 3. I know it's wrapped up, but I kind of want more of these characters, and I would have liked one more season, but I'm very happy with what we got and the note it ends on. If you just look at this season on its surface, I can see that you might be disappointed, but if you look deeper at these characters and their humanity and their pains they're hiding from everyone else, I think it's just so rich and filled with depth and nuance, and how the pain that you feel can get taken out on the wrong people, and the importance of love in life, and even when it's not always easy, it's still the shining light. I think the performances are just simply brilliant. I think it is emotionally powerful while also being hilarious. And I just think it does everything it sets out to do so freaking well. I love this show. I think it's something incredibly special. So I'm going to go ahead and give season 2 of The End of the Fucking World an 8.5 out of 10. Honestly, between this and the first season, it is in my top 5 shows of all time. I just love this show. And if you haven't watched it, I can't recommend it enough. It's just, yeah. It's going to bum me out because not enough people talk about it, so I feel like it's going to be one of those Netflix shows that gets deleted one day, and there's not a physical release of it, and I don't know, that bums me out. But have you seen The End of the Fucking World Season 2? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin